So we'll start. Thanks for coming here. So I didn't mess the things up. I know we are in May. I know we are in Verona, not in Paris. But I want to start with a little story. So a few months ago, I attended a meetup in Paris, the Human Talks in Paris. And after the talk, I was basically eating some pizzas and meeting some people. And at one point, a guy come to me and say, "Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the CTO of Snooper, a new company, and I know Tim over there. And Tim told me that you are a React Native expert, and I have some question for you." So at that point, I was like, "Okay, be ready. He say I'm an expert. He will have some advanced questions, so just be focused." And then he asked me the big question. So not this one. Another one, which is, okay, so I'm a CTO, I'm launching an app. What I want to do, I want to geolocate my users, and I want my user to be able to take a picture, to send it to the backend, and to get it back after to see it. And then I was like that, alone. I was like, but how is it possible that you don't know that yes, 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 and yes, it's possible in React Native? I'm Aurore. I'm working at BAM in Paris, and basically I'm in love with React Native. At BAM, we are about 60 people, and we are developing application from small company like the Alex startup, but also for big company like banks or for organization like WWF. And yeah, we are developing our application in React Native. If you ask yourself one of these questions, so is it like Ionic? But I'm a JS developer, are you sure I can do some mobile? Or what about performance in React Native? Stay here. I hope I will answer the question by the end of the talk, and if not, just feel free to ask me. So we'll start with a little of history. So many years ago, meaning 6 years ago actually, Mark Zuckerberg says that their biggest mistake, as a company was to betting too much on HTML5. So in 2012, Facebook was already betting on the mobile web, on having one code base for both mobile and web, but HTML5 was not the good solution. So that's why that 1 year later they developed React Native during an internal hackathon, and they released it in 2015. Today, what is the state of the community? Today there is more than 1,000 contributors, and maybe more interesting, there is 27 people who have committed more than 100 times on the repository. So basically the buzz factor is quite low. And there is some famous app using it. The Olympics Games app was developed in a React Native. And an interesting thing is that the Vogue app is also coded in React Native and has been part of the top 10 iOS app for some weeks last year. So, I told you I'm in love with React Native, but why? Why I love React Native, what I love in React Native? The main reason is because it's in JS. I'm not a mobile developer, I'm a JavaScript developer, it's in JS, so I love React Native. But the first thing is that React Native enables us to have one code base to roam them all, so I can develop both for iOS and Android with a one code base, but I will come back to this later. React Native helps us to save time when we develop, a part of having only one code base. First, there is auth reloading. So when we are developing, basically we compile the app once, and then when we make only JS change, we don't have to recompile again the app. So you make a change. If you have enabled the auth reloading, you make a change and you see it quite away. A thing which is even more interesting is code push. Code Push is a tool that enables the user to update the app, without passing through the stores. So when you are going on the store, basically you download an app, so an APA or an APK, depending on if you are an iOS user or an Android user. And if you want to upgrade your app, you have to re-download it. But thanks to React Native, what you could do with Code Push is to, when your app is launching, you can ask your user, oh, we have a new version available. Do you want to upgrade the app? He say yes, and actually it's only the JS with changing, not the APA or the APK. So you can he can update the app faster, and even you can do some stuff like updating the app when it does not know that he has to update it, but just force him to update. Another thing which is cool with JS, it's as a CTO, I'm not a CTO yet, but it's easier, I think, to hire people because there is more developer of JavaScript. This figure is from last year. And when you are a developer, it's easier to change, not to change jobs. I think that there is a lot of job for iOS and Java developer, but meaning that if you are tired with mobile development, you can go back to web and the contrary also. So that's an advantage of JavaScript. But I'm in love with React Native, but I know that when you love someone, you know about his default or her default. So I know that at some point React Native is quite annoying. And the thing I'm fed up the most with React Native is this. Every month we have to update. Every month there is a new release and we have to upgrade our code. So on the good months, it takes you 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. But when the update is hard, it could take us like half a day, a day and a half, 2 days. So we are at BAM. We are 2 or 3 developers by team, and we are not rushing on the React Native upgrade when we know that it's some things to do. But if we wait for 6 or 8 months before upgrading, it takes you a month. It takes you a month to upgrade. So that's something painful, but we have to do it. Another thing annoying with React Native is that when I look at this picture, first I spend like 10 seconds to figure what it is. Then I realize it's some donuts, so I'm like, nice. And they all look great, they all look good, and I can't pick only one donut because I have a lot of friends and everyone wants to take one, so I will take only one. And basically it's exactly the same with React Native. You have a lot of libraries, you say, okay, I don't know which one to pick, how to choose, which one will be the best. The 2 first ones are some navigation libraries. When I arrived at BAM, we were using the first one. Now we are using the second one, and this library is still not the perfect one. Sometimes we have some issue, we have to find some workarounds. So maybe in, 6 months, we'll find a new one and we will switch. So it's React Native is based on React. There is a huge ecosystem, which is something cool, I think. But sometimes it could be frustrating because there is this hype, and so it's part of the JS fatigue as well. Another thing, it could miss some native features. So I will show you an ad for American Airlines. I don't have share in American Airlines, but basically they are developing an app, and this is the ad. We don't have the sound, but you miss nothing. So basically what you see in this app is that it's using the augmented reality. So this woman is looking for her way in the airport, and thanks to the app, she can see where to go with her phone. So it's not integrated yet in the React Native core, in the core of React Native. It is in iOS 11. It has been released in iOS 11, I think. So it should not be possible to do so in React Native. Indeed, there is always, as I said before, some libs to do that. But maybe they are not finished yet, they are not complete. So for instance, if you want to do some AR, maybe you have two ways that it's in the core of React Native and develop your app in Swift or Java. And the question that that we ask me a lot, sorry, is and what about the animation in React Native? What does it take? So let's look at this little GIF. It's 3 animation, and we will talk about this later. Okay, so we can stop here. Actually, in this GIF, we see 3 animations. The first one is quite a simple one. On the violet screen, you have 3 words: transfer, payments, and I cannot remember the last one, maybe messages. And when you open the page, they appearing in fading after the page has been opened. So this is easy to do, in React Native. There is actually an API of React Native animated, which helps you to do that, and you can even use React Native animated. Another animation in the previous videos was so the figures, the amount of the payment was kept from the first page to the second page, and there was an animated transition because it was at the top and it moved to the bottom in a circle. So this animation is more complicated. If I have a client asking me to do that, I will be okay. I think we can do it, but let me investigate first for, I don't know, 2 hours to look at some documentation, new libraries like Fluid Transition. The last animation we saw was the one, so with the bubble. So the users press his fingers and move his fingers, and the bubble is following his fingers, and the size of the bubble is depending on the pressure of the finger. So if a client asks me that, I will be okay. Maybe we have to be sure before to do it that it's really useful, because the cost will be expensive. If I'm asked to do that now, I don't know how to do. I have an idea of a library, but my guess would be, okay, maybe I will develop the library in native, or find a native library and make the bridge. We'll see after, during the talk, what is a bridge. So in terms of animation, it depends. The basic one, we can do it. And if you want some complex animation, it could become at a certain cost. So now we'll start it to code. It will not be a live coding, because I'm not able to handle 50 minutes live coding without debugging at some point and waste your time. So what I've done an app in this repository. It's done commit by commit, and I will show you the code, explain you what I wanted to do, the purpose, and so on, and you will be able to follow this after if you want at home or even tomorrow. So what will you do? I'm sorry, we will not do the fork app. I had a better idea, because like a month ago I was at my cousin's place, and I was like, oh, it's really like, it's sunny, my cousins are here, I want to take a picture to remember the date, and I want this picture to be geolocated. So I want to have a map of the world, take a picture and remember I was there this day and I took this picture. So we'll do kind of geolocated Instagram. I'm pretty sure it exists, but anyway, we will record it. So for this, we'll need 2 libraries. We'll need to be geolocated, so we'll need a map and a geolocation API, and we will need to have access to the camera of our phone. Actually, we'll need a third library, which is React Navigation, because the first thing that surprised me when I switched from web to mobile is the fact that you don't navigate in an app as you navigate on the web. You don't have URL, you cannot do everything you want. You have some stack, you have to handle the backpress on Android, you don't have some backpress on iPhone, so you have to think about it as well. So you need to take care about the navigation, but we'll go back to it later. So when I start an app, I need to actually start a project, start a base code. For that, you have create a React Native app, and it creates you those files. So the main file are the app.js and the node module folders. At that point, if you're here, you don't need to have any specific development tool installed. I mean, you don't need Xcode for iOS and you don't need Android Studio for Android. Why? It's because you see the blue logo is the logo of Expo. And Expo is a node module enable you to create app without device-specific tools. It handles it for by itself. Thanks to Expo, so you can code it in JS, you can have access to like native features, so you can have access to the camera, you can be geolocated, there is a service for push notification as well. So it could handle all your needs. But for instance, at BAM we are using a push notification provider called batch.com, and if we want to use it, we cannot use it with Expo because there is no the plugin batch in Expo. So in this case, if you want kind of a real React Native project, you can do what we call an eject. And so here you will have two folders. You will have the Android and the iOS folder. In these folders, you will find everything you need to build your app. And you will have an index.js, which is a key point of your app. Why? Because it's using the app registry API. And basically, what you will do, you will give a name to your app, you will register it as a component, and when React Native will launch your application, it will call app-registry.runApplication, and it will render your app. So here, my app component is the root component of my application. So at that point, we have a React Native project, but at BAM, we are starting 2 projects a month, and at the moment, an architect, Jan, just here, had to start 3 projects in 2 weeks. And when you start a project, it's always the same thing. You have always to add a login page, a sign-up page. We always need React navigation. Often we need to set up a theme. I don't want to start a debate, but we often use Redux, so we need to put Redux. So what we did, we did a generator. So it's an open source tool. You can use it, and I can encourage you to use it. It's a generator RN toolbox. What it does, it's when you have a React Native project, so like the last one we have, you run this command. So here I ask for the base project, and what I have Redux installed, so I have a models component, I have layout of my pages, and actually I have 2 pages, so React navigation installed as well. There is more feature in these generators. There is an advanced one. I don't remember the other feature, but my favorite is the Fastlane one. So Fastlane is a tool to build and deploy your application. And if you run this command with our generator, you will have all your Fastlane setup done in, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. So it's worth to give it a try. So now we are here and we'll start. So no, we'll not start yet, because React Native is like all the frameworks. At one point you will need to debug because something happened, you won't understand why, and you will need to put some breakpoints to know what happened. So first, the simulator and React Native come with some great tools, so you can easily reload, you can inspect your DOM, for instance, but we are used to use React Native Debugger, which is really a great tool. So here you can inspect your network requests, you can inspect your Redux state, and you can inspect your React DOM. We are also using Charles because at one point we realized that the React Native debugger were modifying the headers of our requests, and we were not able to debug what happened. So we decided to just stop debugging with it and use it Charles. It's not needed in all the cases, but sometimes it's really useful. React Native is based on React, so it's kind of a React little brother. So basically you have a React component with a render method. A difference between React and React Native: in React you have some div, some p, some button. In React Native, you have some view, some text, some touchable opacity with feedback or not, but basically it's the same. It's JSX as well. And for the styles, it's the same but different. So for React, for instance, we are using style component. For React Native, you have an API called StyleSheet, enable you to create some CSS, and then you will be able to apply this style to your view. One thing which is interesting, not interesting, but you have to know the first time when you're working in React Native, it's display flex is enabled by default, and the flex direction is column because it's row on the web, column on mobile. So now we'll start to code our app, and so the first thing we need to have is a navigation, because we'll have two pages in our app. A first page is where we'll display the map, and a second page is where we will take the pictures. So I have a quick question here. It's some mock-ups, not of the app we'll do, but I want to know how many type of navigation you see. So who see only one type of navigation? Maybe it's not clear when I'm asking what is a type of navigation. And maybe we'll explode in a couple of minutes. I don't know what happened. But maybe not. Stay calm. Everything is under control. It's like in the plane, and when there is some turbulence, you don't know what happened, but just stay calm. Everything is under control. So, okay. I think that my question is not clear, so I will give you the answer. Basically, when I'm looking at these two pages, there is 3 ways to navigate between pages. So the first one is the burger menu. If I'm clicking on the burger menu, I will have a set of pages I can access, and I will have a specific behavior when I will go back from these pages. Basically, I will return on the main pages. The second one are quite the stack behavior. When I will click on these pages, I will have a new page coming up on this page, and when I will go back, I will come back to this one. And the last type of navigation is the tab navigation. So when I'm clicking on the tab, I will change tab. But for instance, if I'm on the third tab and I'm pressed back on Android, maybe I will just exit the app. So what I want to show you with this is that you have always to think about your user flow before, because it will have an impact on how you design your navigation in the code. So, how to design your navigation with React Navigation? You will use some stack navigator. You have also drawer navigator, so for the burger menu, or tab navigator. You have some others. And for each stack, you will define the list of the screen. So here for us, we have two screens, so the home one and the list one. And at the end, you can pass some options to the stack. So for instance, an initial route, and here I've decided that we won't have any header. Then, so you have to integrate it at the root part of your app, but what you will have after, here is our 2 components. So we have the home one on the left, the list one on the right, and basically we have only one button to go from the home page to the list page and to be able to go back. And thanks to React Navigation, the props navigation will be available in all the pages. You will be able to do a .navigate to the page you want from the home page, so in this case the list. So if I'm pressing go to the list page, I'm going to the list page, and in the list page, as you can see, here I'm doing this prop.navigation.goback. So here he will remove the page where he is from the navigation stack, so we will go back on the home page. So a quick demo of this code. So go to the list page and take me back to the home page. In this example, I didn't put any options, so we have the header. So by default, you have a header with the name of your pages to go back. And if I'm removing the header, I need to implement myself the go back, because I will be able to press it on Android, but not on iPhone. So here is for the navigation. So now we have 2 pages in our app, but I want to know where am I. So I will use 2 packages here. Actually, I will use React Native Maps, so I told you about that before, and I will use another one, which is React Native Permission. When you install an app, the app is always asking for push notification, for geolocation from camera and so on. If you are like me, basically you don't grant access for this, and after you think about it, and maybe you will let Instagram access your geolocation, but maybe not. So when you are coding, you need to check before launching a native feature that the user is okay to launch this feature, and that's the purpose of React Native Permission. So before that, you need to code some native code because you need to declare actually that your app is using the camera or the location. So above in the XML file it's for Android, here it's for iOS, because on the App Store it's always written, okay, this app will require this. So you need to declare it. We'll see after, during the code, how we check the permission. And then you need to do another one, so we add the npm package, and now we need to link the package. So how React Native works. Okay, so let's go back to React Native and not to the joke. So how React Native works, basically there is 2 threads. The JavaScript thread here and the main thread, which is the native thread. And basically there is some bridge to pass some information between the 2 threads. So when you are using features like the geolocation one, you need actually to build the bridge or to initiate the bridge between JavaScript and native UI. So that's what the React Native link command does. And then we can start coding. So how to implement maps and the geolocation basically with this piece of code. So I'm importing map view from React Native. Oh, there is a typo in my slide because map view is a default import. But you use the map view component, you give it an initial region, so latitude, longitude. So this will get this from the position of the user. And you say, okay, shows user location. I want to see the blue circle on the map to know where I am. Because I know I'm in Verona, but I don't know where. So as I told you, we need to get the location of the user to be sure that the map is centered on the location of the users. So for that, I have a function getCurrentLocation. First, I'm checking if the user is has activated the geolocation or not. We'll come back to this after. And then an interesting thing to see, is the navigator.geolocation.getCurrentPosition. Okay, so the interesting thing here is that navigator.geolocation.getCurrentPosition is the same API on the web and in React Native, and it gives you the position. So the last pieces of code we need to check together is the check location permissions. So the check location permission, basically what it does, it uses permission from a React Native permission. It say, okay, I don't want to check the access to the camera right now, I want to check the access to the location part, and regarding the status, I will get, so authorized, undetermined, meaning that, I don't know, you have to ask the users, restricted, denied, and so on, you will say reject or go on and take the position. So this slide is for me to remind you to do a demo. So I have my phone here. I have the application running on my phone, basically. So it has a beautiful logo, the Verona Live one. So here I'm loading all the JS bundle. So here we go. And what we've coded is everything except the take a picture button. But we have the map, and we are actually in Verona. I think via San Marco, I think we are here. So here we have the geolocation. The only thing I didn't show you is you need to get a Google API key to get your location. So you need to create one and to add one, but it's not the harder part. So now we are located. Now I tell you I want to take a picture. So here it's the same recipe again. You add the package and you link the package React Native camera. I make the disclaimer, I will show you a big piece of code. Don't try to read it. It's just to show you that in, I don't know, 20 lines, I'm able to implement the React Native camera. For instance, I can say I want the flash mode. And an interesting thing here, I'm not checking the permission by myself. The package helps me to do it. So with the props permission dialog title, permission dialog messages. And I have a button which enables me to take a picture, and here is the take a pictures function. So here we define this camera from the ref, and we call take picture async on this camera. So the point here is not to understand the code, but to show you that it's the same. It's easy. You read the documentation, read the props purpose, and you can implement it. So again, we'll do a demo. So I still have the app running, and today I want to remember that I've done a talk here. So in the meantime, I have added a take a picture button. So I have camera, and I will take a picture of you to remember that I was there. So smile, it's a big picture. Okay, and now as you can see, I have a pin just next to my location, and if I'm clicking on the pin, I should have taken it in in portrait mode and not landscape mode. But basically, what I've done, so I took the picture, and in the take, I will show you. In the take picture function, so I take the picture and then I store the picture in my Redux store, and I'm going back, and I won't show you the code, but it's in the repository. After you can open the modal on a click and display these images. So for instance, now I have your image, and I have the image of my cousin. So it was on Sunday. But it was far, far away. It was more in Paris. But if I'm clicking on the pin, here my cousin is Paris. So at that point, I think we have our geolocated Instagram. So now that I show you how to code, I want to go back on why I love React Native. I love React Native because in my family, so as you have seen, I have an iPhone. And my brother, mother, and father have some Androids, and they love Android, so they never bought an iPhone, actually. Never. So if I was a native developer, I would have two choices. Develop for myself, or develop for my family. I'll let you guess which one I would have chosen. But thanks to React Native, here is another demo. I have Jan's phone here, which is a Nexus, so an Android one. And basically, what I will do, I will try to unlock the phone. I'm quite okay. So I'm sorry I cannot cast the Android on my computer, but what I will do, I will launch the build. So React Native run Android. Basically, to build it on iPhone, the command is React Native run iOS. And so here it's building, and it will, so on the first seats you can see it's downloading as well. It's coming because it's in debug mode, and maybe because it's Android, but I don't want to enter in this big question. And here we can see Verona. We can see that we are here. I can take a picture as well. Okay, another try for Jan to have you on his phone. Okay, the picture is taken, and I'm back on the pages with my little pin. An interesting, maybe the first one you saw it. An interesting thing is that, for instance, as I show you on the map code, so we were passing a location, a longitude, sorry, and a latitude, and we were passing a delta, meaning that I want my map to be zoom in or zoom out, and what's a difference we can see between Android and iOS is that this zoom, it's not the same, so you have always to test on both devices when you're developing in React Native. So that's why I love React Native. I have two type of phone, and I have my app running on both. But I have a cousin, and my cousin is quite a hipster, so she has a Windows phone. So I tried to convince her to switch. I even tried to buy her an Android, but no, she likes Windows phone. But if I wanted to, I could develop for my cousin. Basically, I never tried React Native Windows, but I know it existing, and I know that Microsoft are willing to support it. So if I wanted, I could develop for my cousins. And I have a grandmother as well, and my grandmother, she has a desktop, and it's already something like really super because she's old, and she knows how to use a computer, and that's great. But as a mobile developer, normally I should not be able to develop for my grandmother, but actually there is another library called React Native Web, and this library helps us to extend your React Native code into React code, and to build your website from your native app. This package, we are using it a lot at BAM. We develop an app for a Malaysian IT company. Basically, I don't know, what is my internet provider here? Okay, do you know Orange? Do you know Orange? Okay, so basically we worked for the Malaysian Orange, and we did an app to handle all your data, text message, and so on. But first we wanted the people to sign up, and what we did is we developed only the sign up part, so we developed it for the app, but we developed it also let's do it again. So we have an app, we have everything we wanted in the app, the sign up part and the dashboard part, but we know that it's easier for people to sign up on the web, as we learned also this morning. So we develop only the sign up part thanks to React Native Web on the web. I think it took 1 week for just one developers, and now that we know how to do it, it will take obviously less because we're also developing some components for this library. So for instance, there was no linear gradient API in React Native Web, so we developed it. So it's possible to do some web from React Native. And the last thing I want to talk about, because I know you're waiting for that, is the performance. Is there a performance issue with React Native? My answer is I've developed, I think I work on like 5 apps since I'm at BAM, and I never seen like really a performance issue. Why? Because when Ionic renders WebView, React Native renders native module. And basically the role of React Native is to make sure that React Native is orchestrating the rendering of the view. But what it does, there is some view, and you say, okay, you have to re-render, you don't have to re-render, you have to render, and so on. And React has one of the best algorithms to do some reconciliation, so on normal app, it's efficient. So here I show you, so this comes from the Xcode documentation, and basically what you can do is that actually your app is some native view. So here you have only 3 views. I did it on the app I show you. So it's not render well, but I think I have 10 or 12 views, so it's not optimized. And for sure I could have optimized this, but actually I don't see really performance issue to do this, so I didn't do it. But if I wanted to, I could. There is no real gap for performance, except if you want to do the bubble animation that I show you. Actually, what makes the performance bad, it's when you send some information over the bridge. So you have your JS thread, you have your native thread, and if you want them to communicate a lot, here you will have some issue of performance. You will go under the 60 FPS frame per second, and you will have some issue. For this, either you choose to not do this kind of animation, either you try to do it, and actually there is a great article about that from Talcol on Medium, so explaining you actually how to use the pan responder. So the pan responder is React Native is detecting the touches and optimize the behavior of both the native part and the JS part to do drag and drop. So it's doable, it's more complex, but it's doable. And sometimes it's even faster in React Native. Do you know why I've put KitKat here? You say yes. Why I put KitKat? So I've put KitKat because KitKat is the Android 4 version. And on some old Android device with this version, as my other grandmother have, actually React Native app are faster than native app. Why? Because React Native is based on Yoga, so it's a framework to handle the layout rendering, and it's well optimized. And if you have a view which is not useful, so basically you have a view, you have a div in a div in a div, you only need one div, so it will render only one view. And in the old version of Android, there is not this optimization, so there is, for instance, three native view to render instead of one. And if you use React Native app on this on this particular smartphone, it will handle the reconciliation part for you, and it will remove the useless view. So if there is one thing I want you to remember for this talk is use React Native. But there is some exception. Don't use it if your business relies too much on new feature of iOS and Android. So maybe if you want to launch a VR on an AR app, it's worth trying native. If your business really relies on complex animation, far-fetched animation, don't do it. Do it in native. If you hate JavaScript, don't do it in React Native, but I guess if you're here, it's not the case. So it's quite a dogmatic conclusion. So actually my real conclusions, the things I want you to remember for this talk is just consider it. There is no more only native, there is React Native as well. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes not, but just take the time when you start a project to ask yourself, okay, do we want to start in React Native? Does it worth it or not? Discuss this with native developers, discuss this with React Native developers, and make the choice, but consider it before. Thank you for your attention, and if you have some question, go for it.